Hey everyone, welcome back to the PAC-South podcast. College football just ended, and boy, we have some opinions, some thoughts, and we look forward to kind of diving into that. We'll do that a little bit this episode. As you can see, is just myself, TJ, this week. Pat will be back next week, where we will dive in even further, uh, get back into some college basketball, and we have the college baseball season look ahead. So exciting stuff next week. But I mean, here we are right now, 2 days removed from Indiana's national championship victory. Ended up being a great game, but this Hoosiers team, phenomenal, phenomenal all year. Kurt Signetti did an amazing job. 2 years in, I mean, they were 3-9 before he came in, and then he turns the program around. They make the playoffs in his first year. I am forgetting who they lose to in regular season. They lose to Notre Dame, a team that would later go on to the national title that season. Um, so I mean, this team, like under him, he turned that program around immediately, and he talked about how the feeling of the program was like, "Oh, you're going to be the head coach," and I mean, that really ticked him off, and that really set a shoulder or a chip on his shoulder and really got the program, I think, going quicker than it would have been if he didn't get that. I think that if people were excited that he was there, it still would have gotten moving pretty quickly. I don't think they're winning a national championship in year two. I don't think that they're being a playoff team. I mean, the fact that the people on the inside were counting him out already, I think that that finished the chip on the shoulder, the attitude of like, I win, and if you're not going to believe me, I'm just going to have to prove it to you, not just to the people on the outside, but the people on the inside. So, kind of crazy that that was where a lot of motivation came from in his press conferences that he has had recently. But yeah, I mean, this team was just loaded, but also not. This is maybe the most like or the least amount of like blue chips on a team that has won a national championship in a long time. Most three stars out of any program that had made the playoffs, least amount of 5 and 4 stars. And yeah, they go 16-0. Great coaching, great leadership. The players that needed to make the plays did. You had players step up in the middle of the season. I'm forgetting his name right now in classic fashion, but the receiver who was the only guy who stayed at Indiana under Signetti when he came in. He did a lot of special teams last year. He started this season on special teams. Second half of the season kind of becomes an integral part of the offense, becoming a target for Mendoza, getting more touches. And obviously, talking about Mendoza, Fernando Mendoza, Heisman winner. I feel like it's been a while since we've had the Heisman winner also win the national championship. So that was a great thing to see. I mean, he's got all the charisma in the world. He's a great leader, great level head, very smart. I mean, he was able to put Cal, who's not a bad team, last season into some games that they may not have really deserved to be in. You could say they should have won that Miami game last year, and you could say Mendoza got his like come up. He originally is from Miami. He wanted to go there out of high school. They gave him no attention. When he went to the portal from Cal, Miami came calling. He was like, nope, goes to Indiana, beats Miami in the national championship. So just incredible storylines. The fact that this is Indiana's first national championship. We have a new, like, first time national championship, first time in a long time. NIL has really changed the game. So I mean, just phenomenal all the way around from so many different points. So I'll say this more than just now and what I've already done, but congratulations to Indiana, first 16-0 team since Yale 1894. Only two 16-0 teams ever. It's pretty remarkable. Obviously, so Indiana, the only 16-0 team in modern college football history. So very impressive by the Hoosiers once again. This then creates the who's better, I guess, because everyone's going to compare. 2019 LSU, 2026 Indiana. Both really good teams. I think that those are probably the two best teams in college football. Um, it's tough. I think, me personally, I'm giving the edge to LSU still, But I mean, these two teams were so dominant. They controlled their games, and even with the game against Miami, it being so close, I mean, Indiana did what they needed to do in kind of unorthodox fashions, like a blocked punt touchdown, but like they were still in control the whole game. The only time they really weren't in control was at the very end. Miami's driving down, but they still pick them off. So like they called a timeout. They forced Miami to think a little bit. Beck has a little bit of an underthrown ball and it's picked off. So like the play the defense needed to play and like execute on, they did. And that was the most behind that they were in the game, and they were still up 6 points. So pretty remarkable stuff. It would be interesting to see. I'm sure that someone has created a theoretical line for LSU versus Indiana, but still phenomenal stuff. Top two team in the history of college football and the only modern 16-0 team. And that we'll go to their dance partner in Miami. Miami definitely deserved their spot. I was very hesitant. The ACC was very down this year. Teams that made the playoff in SMU, who Miami lost to, was definitely not the same SMU team this year. So, I mean, two losses in that. Like, yes, you have a win against Notre Dame, the team that you essentially etched out of the playoff. But we'll get into the other thing there. But I mean, Miami gets in as a 10 seed. They go to College Station against a different Texas A&M team under Mike Elko. This is not Texas A&M that we've seen in the past, where you can always guarantee a second half collapse of the season. They played very well throughout the whole year. They had the weird game against South Carolina where they came back and won. They did lose to Texas, and then obviously they lose to Miami in the playoff. But a very good Aggie team, very different Aggies team. And then Miami kept it going. They get a win against Ohio State. They get a win against, Ohio State. They beat Oregon, I think. And Pat's not here to correct me. So very unfortunate for me. But either way, get a great quarterfinal win. They then play Ole Miss in the semifinals, where they are able to punch a ticket, an Ole Miss team without Lane Kiffin, under Golding, who was able to answer the bell. So a lot of these teams, a lot of these stories were teams answering the call, answering the bell. This season also saw the continuation of the bye week woes. The only team to win after having a bye in the playoffs, the national champions. So clearly, this Indiana team is different. It leads to a lot of questions that I will talk about in just a couple minutes. But like, what does a bye week really hurt that much? There is a long break, and obviously longer if you have a bye. So I'll discuss that in just a few moments. But Miami did what they needed to do. They proved that they deserved that 10 seed and that they belonged in the college football playoff. Then there's Alabama. Alabama, the other team. They just sneak in, even though they're a 9 seed. They lose their conference championship game. They had 3 losses after losing to Georgia in the SEC title game. Did they deserve to be there? I mean, we've seen in the past where the committee says that if you play in a conference championship game, you should not be penalized for it. And I agree with that in an extent. Traditionally, every college every conference championship loser, even if they've made the playoff, they've still moved back 1 or 2 spots every single time. Alabama lost by those teams that also had the similar situation. They had the worst margin of defeat, and they didn't move a spot. They stayed right there. I think that is the thing of note. But then they go on the road to Oklahoma, a team that has been kind of their kryptonite since they joined the SEC, and they win. And not only they won, they were kind of in control of that game for a majority of the time. John Mateer had a little bit of a chance to do some stuff in the fourth quarter, but not really. Alabama kind of went to Norman and did what they needed to do. So we can't really say that Alabama fully didn't deserve to be in there either, because they go on the road, they get a win. And then obviously we know they run into the monster that is Indiana in the Rose Bowl. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say that these teams may or may not belong to in the college football playoff. Then you have the 11 and 12 seed. Tulane and James Madison, which a lot of people have said we need to get the group of five out of the playoff. Well, if we're going to do that, we're going to totally negate uh, the meaningness of conference championships. So then, Alabama may not play in the SEC title game, and it's going to be another team getting in. And then they're going to be, all right, well, then I can boost my resume. So Vandy takes Alabama's spot. 13, they win, they move up. You have the ACC, who their conference champion was bad. Virginia would have won, they would have been in. Duke won, they weren't in. They were unranked, they had 5 losses already. I mean, still great that Duke wins the ACC, but, like, we can't just fully get rid of the meaningfulness of these championship games. That's why they said top 5 conference champions, like basing it off the old Pac-12 powers. So that would give one group of 5 at least. They changed the buys, just you get in. The American Conference we talked about all year. If you listen to the podcast on YouTube, that was before our Spotify and Apple Podcast time, but we talked about the American Conference all year. It was kind of guaranteed that they were going to get their champion in. Well, quietly, James Madison, former Kurt Signetti school, they keep winning. They keep quietly building their way up. Next thing you know, one loss. Their only loss was on the road to Louisville, who ended up being okay in the ACC. They had a really dominant stretch in the middle, and they really fell off toward the end. But still not a bad team. And you could argue that James Madison had the toughest game of the first round games and might have played them the best. I mean, I guess second outside of Alabama and Oklahoma. But, I mean, you take out James Madison's first half, which was atrocious. It's a great game. Obviously, then Oregon had a cushion. Don't know. But still not a bad team. So we have the argument of, okay, we leave it at 12 teams. Do we want to get rid of these conference championship games? Do they matter? Should they be used as a play-in? So your top 2 teams in the conference, theoretically, are already in, or you can opt out and not have to play in it. Then you don't have to worry about Alabama losing and then not moving. Then you don't have to worry about, whatever. It's a really interesting argument to make in the college football playoff because of them expanding so largely from being 4 teams for a while, going to 12. There's so many different moving parts to figure out. They're willing to change it immediately, which is good and bad at the same time. So I am a firm believer that top 5 conference championship champions, despite whatever conference they're in, they deserve to be in. Tulane, JMU, great seasons. Tulane and James Madison both have been good programs for a number of years now. They deserved it above all else. So I have to congratulate them on great seasons and just reiterate, like, the conference champions, they deserve to be in. That then kind of leads to the big discussion. The SEC and the Big Ten cannot figure out what they want to do for the playoffs moving forward. I believe it's the SEC wants the current 12 team, if I'm not mistaken. There's a 16 team being floating out there, and then the Big Ten model, which is 24 teams, which would be the top 4 of the SEC and the Big Ten. I think 24 teams is overkill. I think that's way too much. Yes, that's getting into like your March Madness size, like when you compare like the number of FBS teams to the number of D1 teams and numbers that can play in the end of year tournament for the national championship. Yes, it does make it similar, but basketball and football are 2 different sports. I do believe that Cinderella runs are capable. Look at the 10 seed this year, Miami. I believe last year was 7 versus 9 for the championship. So the runs exist. Like, it's not just number 1, number 2, number 3 guaranteed to make their way to the finals. The only top 4 seed that's made it to the finals this year, Indiana. So I don't know. A 24 seems too much for me. 16, you remove the bye week. Yes, teams with the first round bye are 1-7, but I feel like, what's the point? If you get rid of that round, what do you get? I guess a first round home game, but you can still lose that game. I think that the fix is not for that, is to kind of shrink the schedule, move everything up. Like, we just had the national championship on January 19th. No other bowl games have been played for 2 weeks. The Shrine Bowl is, I think, in a couple days. Just move everything up a little bit. Just move it up a little bit. The semifinal games should be on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Put the quarterfinal games on like the December 23rd and 24th, like leading up to Christmas and all that. So then you have like your first week buys. So then, if if they're in a conference championship game, one of the top four seeds, instead of being off 4 weeks, a month, they're off a month. They're only off 2 weeks, or 3 weeks max. I think that would improve our issue that we're having here. And like, yes, upsets are great, and we don't really want to diminish upsets, but it is a competitive disadvantage to wait so long when your reward is rest, and it should be rest, while other teams are battling out and going at it. But then it's so long that then you get out of game form. So then you're having to use the first quarter or second quarter to get used to playing again, when the other team, who, yes, they had to play it last week and had to get banged up a little bit and run through it and be a little beaten up, but they're in their routine again. And I think personally we need to leave it at 12 teams. Just move everything up a week, if not week and a half, 2 weeks. Just really finish it up. The FCS championship, I believe, was January 5th. It was like the first week of January. Really, the national title should not go past January 10th, I would say. Keep everything from like the last actual bowl game, keep it within like a week max. I think that would be so great for college football, for the cohesiveness of it, for what we see on the field with the teams, the players. I think that would be the best experience possible. But I digress. Is all pretty much in the Big Ten and SEC's hands at this point. But if I was commissioner, that is what I would do. But that is all we have in this kind of weird post-national championship episode. We will be back again next week. Pat will be alongside me. We'll talk about his opinions on everything I discussed today. If I did not say it already before, we will go over updated PAC-South Conference basketball standings, so the men's and women's that we debuted the other week. And then we're going to look a little bit into baseball together and bring back predictions. Yes, no predictions this episode, probably the first time in PAC-South history we've had no predictions, but it's a weird one, and it's really just centered around Indiana. Again, one of the best teams to ever be on the field. Best team in school history by far, possibly Big Ten history, just history in Bloomington. So enough congratulations cannot go around to that team. Signetti, Mendoza, just everyone. Heisman winner as well. I don't even think I mentioned that when I was talking about Mendoza earlier. Great season. So we will talk a little bit more past opinions there, and then get back into our typical PAC-South episode and routine next week. So thank you all so much for watching on YouTube and listening wherever you may be listening to us at. For TJ, thank you all so much.